Welcome to Crypto Tutors. We are humanizing cryptocurrency and blockchain and are bringing the best trailblazers and success stories like Isaiah Jackson, Tanya Evans, Ian Bellina, Cleve Messidor, and Tinashe Nitaganga on the Crypto Couch. Click subscribe and the bell to be the first to watch the latest interviews every single week.
Crypto tutors, crypto tutors, crypto tutors. Hey,
It's a way.
Making money in my sleep? Making money in my sleep.
Boom! Welcome back to the Crypto Couch, produced by Crypto Tutors, where our mission is to simplify cryptocurrency through e-learning, one-on-one tutoring, and edutainment. Edutainment, you ask? What, pray tell, is edutainment? It's a hybrid of entertainment and education, which is why today we've brought to you the one, the only, a living legend in crypto and blockchain, ladies and gentlemen, and other. Tavonia Evans is somebody that has been instrumental in bringing crypto to the culture as the founder of Guap Coin, which we're going to unpack. We're going to walk you through what you need to do to invest, to learn, to join the community. But as the founder of Guap Coin and someone who's been in the crypto and blockchain world for several years now, we're going to talk about where she is and where she's going and where she's taken the culture. So with that being said, it is with my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you the one, the only T.
Hey,
I had to throw in my nickname, T. This has been a long time coming. We've been envisioning having you on the Crypto Couch and sharing you with the community, because the truth is, T, that we at Crypto Tutors are all about how do we empower minorities, how do we empower women, how do we empower people of color to transform knowledge into wealth, transgenerational wealth, which for the Black community, that is near and dear to your heart as well. So thank you so much for taking some time to speak with us.
Thank you. Thank you. This is awesome. Edutainment is the word. It must be. It must be edutainment.
Because the truth is that for the culture, if you're really going to be about that life, then you need to meet the culture where we're at. And music has been part and parcel to how we've, socialized messages and how we've uplifted the community. I mean, I'm from New York. You're from New York, the origin of hip hop, right?
Hey, the birthplace of Guap. Hey.
Okay. So before we get into Guap, let's talk a little bit about your journey. Where does your journey begin? Because you've been in tech for a couple decades now.
Yeah, I have. Well, I started out way back in the days with just desktop publishing, my own little desktop publishing company, and I evolved over time to doing development, web design, of course, development, data, all the way up to data science and blockchain engineering, et cetera. And here I am.
You ain't no games. You ain't playing no games. A multidisciplinarian. Let's not overlook the fact that you excel in several statistical categories. My bad.
Yeah.
Just have to go
Well, I found that, when you're a true techie, you kind of grow with the technology. So you always got to learn a little bit of everything, to kind of bring it all together. Plus you want to be in the in-demand areas, especially, because this can be a very fruitful career in technology. And, then, I had all of the mouths to feed. So
hold on. Can we just pause right quick? Can we talk about the village that you're raising? Right. How many kids do you have?
I have 8 children.
8. You can't even see on my fingers. 8 is great. Okay. So I'm sorry. Carry on.
Yeah. So that was my motivation to be as, to really kind of take this to the moon, was for my children, because number one, I wanted them to see the benefits of technology and how, it doesn't matter what you have. If you got a computer, I always tell them, you got a computer, you can make money. You know what I mean? You can create money and create opportunity for yourself. And I wanted them to see that, and to see how instrumental it was. It was my grandfather years ago, when I was roughly about maybe 17 or 18, that told me that if I get into technology, I'm going to be very wealthy. So, and he knew nothing about technology. This is like a 70-something-year-old man at the time, you know. He knew, I guess he knew a little something, but he definitely wasn't a technology person. But for him to say that, it was almost like a, you know, a prophecy, so to speak. So, you know,
if you
so
want
that,
to predict the future, create it.
yeah, exactly. So I look back now and I'm like, man, my grandfather saw it, you know, my people saw me doing this, and said, you know, where it would go. So, you know, it was my safety net. Technology is my safety net. And I feel like, you know, pretty much most problems can be solved with technology. That's how I feel. Like, if I can solve a problem with technology, I'm going to do it. You know, people know me. They know that I'm that type of person.
And so, you know, as you began your journey, you know, you're 17, 18 years old. You get this sage advice from your grandfather who was like, go into tech. Where did you go from there? What was the next step?
Well, it took me a little bit, but within the next couple of years, I definitely landed square in the middle of technology. But from the design perspective, because that was an easy segue for me. You know, I've been an artist my entire life, you know, so I was like, oh, this is nothing. I went to school, you know, graphic communications, etc. So jumping in on the design part was great. And slowly climbing up the ladder was even greater, because I ultimately went into advertising, and I was working with major newspapers and, you know, major corporations. And then I went to working with advertising agencies. And then within the agency, I was doing everything. I started doing more web development. I was doing everything from flash commercials to web development to this. I was doing a lot of flash back then too. So it was fun, you know, it was definitely an exciting thing, an exciting field. And I never could have foretell how far it was going to take me down the rabbit hole, but it definitely took me pretty far down the rabbit hole.
To say the least. And, you know, one of the things that I think you touched upon, building community is all about sharing best practices, what's worked, and
Right.
how you've applied it to make things pop off. So,
Right.
you know, for you, I think that hearing about just the different avenues that you've taken and how you've continuously leaned into, you know, harnessing technology's power in a way where as things evolve, you are evolving. And so, you know, tell us about your crypto journey. I mean, like, you know, advertising, crypto, like, how does that happen?
I know, right? Well, I think pretty much by the time I gotten around to where crypto was relevant, I was very deep into, you know, engineering and my startup. You know, at this point, I was at the point where I wanted to put out some of my own ideas and stop building other people's. I spent years building other people's ideas and even advising them on their ideas. And I just started taking that edification and like, okay, I could do it myself now, you know? So I started working on my own startup.
I just have to give you a quick applause, girlfriend. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And it was during that startup adventure that I realized that Black women don't get funded. So, you know, I was a little naive at the time. I felt like, oh, wow, they love this product. They love, you know, what we're putting out. It's going to be so easy to get money to scale to the next level. You know, I was just really, really naive. And, you know, we kept going from VC to VC, venue to venue, and we were not getting funded. So I was like, okay, so I'm a problem solver. So I was like, okay, well, if we're not getting the money and we're not getting funded, then we need to create the money. And that's when I took a look back.
Bars.
Yeah.
Can we just see that in the comments? Can we just like acknowledge? Can we just acknowledge the God with the goddess locks? You know, you're giving us divine design.
Yeah, I had to take it to that level. And because most people know I'm not a person that lets anything stop me from doing something. So I was looking into how cryptocurrency has been helping startups and startup projects. So I presented it to the team. I was like, we need to somehow incorporate blockchain and crypto into this. And it was an identity platform. So that was like almost perfect to incorporate blockchain. But unfortunately, my team at the time, they were consist of very older people, and you talking about not know nothing about blockchain, they knew nothing about blockchain. And I think that was at a time where people who knew nothing about blockchain didn't even want to know anything about blockchain. They didn't want to have to understand yet another thing.
What time,
this was around 2015, 2016. So the real peak came in 2017, and that's when people took notice. But
it was at like 2017, was it 17,000 at that point?
Yeah, and that's when people started calling me back. What is this crypto thing you've been talking about? But 2015, 2016, it was pretty hard for me to pitch that to people, for that. So I actually wound up leaving that startup, and that's when I started Guap Coin. And I was like, this solves a lot of problems, not just raising funds for your tech startup, whatever, but this solves the money problems and cash flow problems in our community. We're always talking about the black dollar, but we don't really have a black dollar, and how do we measure that? And when we're talking about supporting businesses in our community, what does that look like? We can support businesses, but how do we track that? Well, how do we look at the risks? At this time, I'm thinking it from a data perspective. I'm thinking it from a scientist perspective. How do we track that? How do we measure that? How do we present the evidence? And blockchain is really trackable in that way. We can pull data from blockchain. We can pull and assemble spending data, et cetera. So this was a thing that was solving problems on all angles. Just the transparency to build the trust in the community, because of course we don't trust, and we have a right not to trust, I guess, at this point. So that transparency helps to build that trust. This also opens up a world of borderless payments for us and international global business. And this also just gives us a tool that we can feel proud to have contributed to, because on a community level, that's what blockchain is supposed to be, or crypto is supposed to be. You're supposed to be contributing on a community level to building this out. That, I think, is the most important thing to people of color in general, is the participation from the ground up. Not walking in on this and feeling like people are telling you, this is your answer, this is the answer for your life, take it or leave it. It's like, okay, well, this is the answer, how do I build this? It's already built, everything's already done, you just come on board. That's not going to work for us. Yeah, we kind of, that's not going to work with us. But if you're talking about us being able to get in a sandbox and actually build this from the ground up and have some input that's respected and honored, that's a whole other ball game.
This is so fascinating, because the truth is that, you raised a couple of very powerful and poignant points, which, in relation to being a Black female entrepreneur and seeking venture capital, the truth is that less than 1% of venture capital is allocated to Black founders. That is reduced even further when you're talking about Black females, which coincidentally are the fastest growing
businesses and yeah, exactly.
Companies. So, here you have this sort of, this conundrum, right? You're seeking capital, you're recognizing that there's a tremendous opportunity to close the wealth gap, and, you're not getting what you need. And then you have an epiphany where you're like, okay, I want to create our own currency. This is a really powerful point in the discussion, because what were some of the obstacles that you had to face to actually build out the coin, from the technology to the community?
I think the biggest obstacle I had to face was, number one, getting through the guard to the community. There is a huge walled garden around us. We're like a petri dish, honestly. You got to go through the handlers to get to us. And that's what kind of let me know that we're not as free as we think we are. You got to go through there. There is like a thing around us. And not only with that, we believe in that thing. It's like our protective force, so what you feed me, I believe to be fact or true, so here I come along with something that is not being fed, and it's not
anti-establishment.
you're right. It's a little bit, yeah. So I had to change my, my trajectory. I had to basically develop a strategy to deal with that. So my strategy was, you know what? I'm catering to my folks, but I'm gonna need to go get out there in the world and build some legitimacy behind me. And they need to see my face next to these other people's faces to understand that I have a legitimate, skill here, and that I'm real, and that I'm as valid as these people that they're hanging on to for their every word. You know what I mean? So I found that another obstacle was not necessarily my race, but my gender. Because my gender became an issue with my people. You know what I mean? So because I'm in a man's world. So even within my folk, I'm dealing in a man's world. And I felt like a lot of us did not want to see, they love the idea of this, but they wanted it to come from a man. They didn't want it to come from a woman. Maybe they didn't think that it was going to work, or, or I was going to endure, or I don't know what it was, but I definitely gone into men's spaces. I found myself, well, it was the polite way of dealing with me, which was to ignore me and to act like I didn't exist. So I was like, wow, I'm dealing with some stuff that I've never dealt with before. I heard about this, but I didn't think it was real until I experienced it. And at first, I still didn't think it was real until I just kept bumping my head. And then I realized, okay, I'm kind of being X'd out here, what's going on. So now everybody's on the crypto gravy train, you know what I mean? And it was almost as if they were holding up the train for everybody else to get on.
Wait, so let's dig into how it was that you were facing opposition as a Black founder and within this fintech world, and a Black female founder at that. And so, how was it that you were able to, again, work through those issues to ensure that we here, 2021, Guap Coin is being traded on exchanges, and, we've got a lot coming down the pike, as you mentioned earlier. Like, how were you able to bring the idea to fruition?
Well, I would say this. I built up a lot of colleagues over the years in the industry. And they're people that always believed in me, always believed in my ability to produce and et cetera. And they stayed here steady, so I was always able to tap into them, and they always seemed to be the right people. It's almost as if God fashioned my life for the right people to be there. And in the right time, here they come, boom, they're playing the role that they were supposed to play in my life. So that was very instrumental and very helpful for me. Another thing that was very helpful for me is just the sense of identity that my mom gave me, that I grew up with, that I had, and like I said, the endurance and the not giving up, and and then just my pure knowledge of what I needed to do, because being a developer was extremely helpful. I did a lot of the initial development. I did a lot of, the initial things. And then I was also able to plan and lead a team later on. So, there was definitely some destined moments. Like even though there was that opposition, it was also as if the universe put these people in my life to get me beyond the opposition, to be there at the right time and to usher me in. So that was what kept me going. You know what I mean? To know that, okay, I might have opposition, but I also have a lot of support, and I have to focus on the support.
And, the mission kept you moving, right? Like, you clearly had a definitiveness of purpose. And
Right.
that, coupled with like the political and relationship capital, right, that you had accumulated over your career. And let's not forget about the technical prowess. I mean, you had the technical acumen to build out the infrastructure. So it wasn't like, I'm seeking funding solely to hire the tech resources required. It was like, no, I understand the underlying, technology behind crypto, because a lot of people don't realize blockchain is the technology that enables crypto to have the functionality that it has. And so you know how to build. Basically, you as a developer have that understanding, have that knowledge, and we're able to apply it to create Guap Coin, which here we are today. Like, let's talk about Guap, right? Let's talk about the Guap. First of all, for the people that do not know, what is Guap? T, tell us, what is Guap?
Guap is that money. It's that royal money. It's that, it's that moolah. It's more than money. It gives you that feeling of, oh, wow, I've amassed something. I've really accumulated something. I think we connect with it a lot more than just the dollar term. I think we connect really with that. And that's the reason why I named it Guap, is because I wanted people to understand that this was money. I knew it was going to be something that we were going to have to teach to the people, just the crypto aspect of it. But I didn't want them to just look at this as crypto. I wanted them to look at this as money.
Want to learn more? Visit cryptotutors.com. This episode is sponsored by Cash App.